Discourse communities is a group of individuals who come together that shares a common goal for a specific task. These groups are everywhere that you look, everyday things that you see, but they do need to follow 6 criterias from the Swaley's article. Now, it may sound difficult to comply with the different characteristics. However, this is very common, and it's all over politics and stuff, such as agricultural interest groups, medical interest groups, business interest groups. But it can also be to very, very small things, such as your job organization, a sports club, a sports team. And a very common one that I will be doing for this video is my church. The main goal of this church is to bring all types of people here to spread the Hindu culture. South Florida being rich in diversity and different religions and people, it's always good to have different new people here. Like, even if you're not a Hindu, we welcome you here to at least get an experience of what it's like. Another common goal of this community is to also bring in as many children as possible so they can learn about our religion and our culture and pass it down for generations and generations. So we'll one day take over this entire building. I play the Indian instrument called the tabla, and one of the goals here is to start setting up classes for kids to learn about the different instruments. This right here is usually where they perform. Um, Levels of expertise, there really isn't anything here. Like, this is just an open community for anybody to come. There is a certain group that founded the building years and years ago. I think it was like 12 or 13 years ago, and they're the ones who usually set up the events. But there's really no levels of expertise. Any person who's common that comes to church a lot and is known here is part of that group. There's various terminologies here that if somebody in the outside were to hear it, they wouldn't know what we're talking about. Things like Krishna Janamashtami or full moon service. We instantly, if we hear those terms, we would know instantly what to get, what to make, how to set up the service. But obviously, if you're somebody who's on the street who's never been here before or knows nothing about the Hindu culture, you're not really going to know what that means. Feedback here at the church is also very important. Like, hearing different people's takes on how the service goes is always important for improving services for future and future, because in this religion, every single year, as the months go on, you kind of already predict what services will come, and we're always open to different forms of feedback. One very common one is usually on Facebook. People would reply and give their takes on how the service went and improvements that could be made. Another form is usually right here, where right after the service finishes, that's where the priest usually sits. And usually right after the service, when people are eating their dinner or their breakfast, if it's morning service or afternoon service, people would usually come up and usually talk to them, either praise on how well the service did, or usually say that, oh, maybe you should have done this a different way or this the other way. And this is how this church grows every single year, with new people coming in and listening to various different feedbacks. It keeps the community going strong. One form of written discourse that this community uses is this Hindu calendar right here. It's in the church all the way at the back to the right, and it has by the month and the day all of the events that goes on. Now, in the Hindu culture, as you can see, the Hindu calendar is packed, and obviously we're not going to go through all of them. We would probably do the few that are on the weekends and the full moon services. But and people would know that usually through Facebook. We would post out, we're doing this event on this weekend, or people who come, we would usually hand out a flyer or something to let people know which events we're actually doing. This is a good refresher for people to come and see, but it's not really used that well. Another form of written discourse that this community uses are flyers. They're usually given out at the end of the service to every individual that attended. These are used every once in a while, but definitely way more frequently than the calendar. This flyer right here, this is an example. This is an event that happened about 2 weekends ago. It details the date, the time, the officiating priest, a phone number if you want to call about the event, and their website, and including all of their social medias and things to bring. And it usually gives a brief summary of what the event is going to be like. The last form of discourse that this community uses is Facebook. This is a post from the officiating pendant that they're going to have a service this Saturday, the 21st. This method is the most common form of communication of knowing when an event will take place. They have their official page and post upcoming events weekly in advance, which is the biggest advantage than any other forms of discourse that this community offers. Also, since this is on everyone's phone, it is the most convenient form of getting information rather than keeping a flyer or looking at a calendar, and is also the quickest way of getting the word out for an event because people can share and repost it and spread the branch quickly through technology.